The spaces we visit, perhaps none capture the imagination more than a treehouse. Today, we've traveled to Seattle, Washington to meet Nelson Treehouse and Supply and see one of their incredible new projects. Hey Garrett.
Hey.
Awesome to meet you, mate.
Glad you could make it. Welcome.
Me too. Dude, what can I even say about this treehouse? This is so impressive.
Pretty cool, huh? Nelson Treehouse and Supply was founded by Pete Nelson. You might also know him from the TV show Treehouse Masters on Animal Planet. Pete has been building treehouses for 40 plus years. He's built over 250 tree houses, and in 2010 he started Nelson Treehouse and Supply. And basically we travel the world building luxury, livable, fully functioned, fully furnished tree houses.
So tell me a little bit about the construction of this thing, because this doesn't look like the sort of thing that you just throw together in your backyard. There is some pretty heavy hardware that's holding this thing up, isn't there?
Yeah, so the whole treehouse is fully engineered. We have our treehouse attachment bolt that basically holds the whole thing together. It is 18 pounds of heat-treated steel bolt right into the tree. Steel yoke holding 2 steel beams. It's sound. There could be an earthquake and a windstorm and this thing is not going anywhere.
This is definitely really well attached, but the question that I have to ask is, how does this actually affect the tree? I mean, they look quite invasive in there, don't they?
We get that question so often, and the way a tree grows is all the nutrients flows through the cambium layer, which is this thin layer between the bark and the actual inside of the tree. So when you install this tab, basically you're making a 3-inch circle in the cambium layer. So really that just triggers reaction wood and makes the tree grow around the tab and makes the connection even stronger over time.
One of the other really unique things about this setup is it's actually not just attached to the one tree, it's actually fixed to 2. So how do you get around that challenge?
The tree house is engineered with a static tree and a dynamic tree. So basically everything is bolted onto this tree and the whole platform, the tree house, will move with this tree. That tree, on the other hand, is dynamic. You can see up there our connection is using dynamic uplift arresters. That allows the tree to move in the wind and slide around and keeps the bolts intact and keeps the tree house from getting any damage. So it's kind of like you figure out which tree you want to be static and you figure out which tree you want to move, and you engineer the tree house to kind of be dynamic and move with the forces of nature.
So how do these tree houses actually cope with the growth of the tree?
You're only going to see growth outward. So you don't need to worry so much as trees growing different rates, or this tree is going to grow 5 feet and this tree is going to go 3, because they're kind of growing from their tips and not so much at the base. So the tabs really stay where you put them, and that's where they're going to live.
And it's good to see as well that you've also utilized the space underneath the tree house.
Yeah, so this is a Kodama Zone, and I mean, what better way to hang a swinging chair than from the bottom of a tree house?
That's actually one of the really cool things about tree houses as well, because all of the land underneath is actually still undisturbed, isn't it?
Right, yeah, so you're basically taking the foundation of the house and lifting it and 17 feet off the ground, so there's still kind of like a ground ecosystem that can exist under the tree house.
Well, enough of being on the ground, let's get in the tree.
Yeah, let's head up and I'll show you around.
Okay.
So we have a curved stair set outfitted with natural cedar branch railing, kind of a ode to the treehouse lifestyle. This treehouse is like 80% built from cedar. We have cedar stair treads, cedar decking, cedar siding, cedar railings. I mean, we have a lot of cedar here in Washington, and it's great because cedar is actually weather resistant, so it can stand for years out in rainstorms and it's never going to rot.
Which, especially when you're this high up, is really important.
Right, yeah, you don't want to fall through the floorboards.
Definitely not.
Right.
And what a great space you've got up here. Having especially this balcony area, it really allows the house to take advantage of its location, doesn't it?
Right, well, I mean, a big thing about having a tree house is being able to be next to the tree, and so it's pretty important that every tree house has a deck. And like I said, we get a lot of rain, so the sleeping loft actually acts as a canopy for the table here. And we have a curved hog wire paneled railing here, so it adds kind of a nice natural detail.
And one of the other things I noticed, obviously the treehouse itself is quite squared, but you do have a lot of features that are curved in this as well, kind of harking back to the tree that it's built around.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely somewhat more of a modern treehouse. We have a lot of 90-degree corners and lines, and You know, I think it's complemented pretty cool with the curved stair set and the curved deck, and it kind of just creates that contrast between like new and modern and back to nature.
Can you have a look inside?
Yeah, that's what we came for. Let's go check it out. Welcome to the Treehouse.
This is really cool. Standing in here, it feels very much like I'm actually in a normal house. It's incredibly stable, and it's not until I actually look out the windows that I realize, yep, I'm actually standing in a treehouse right now.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing about tiny living and treehouse living is that, you know, you want to feel at home. You don't want to feel like you're living in a plastic box. And so, you know, all the wood and the smell and the structure just really makes you feel at home.
So when you're actually building a treehouse, to what extent does the tree dictate what you're able to do with the structure that you're building on it?
You're definitely confined to X amount of space because you have to build off the trees. So in the design phase, you know, you're looking at where does this branch go? Where does that branch go? And so you kind of build the structure to fit within the trees. And so that actually drives a lot of the design processes.
This treehouse really does look like it has been built so it could be lived in full time.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an option we wanted to keep open. Just because no one lives in it now doesn't mean someone can move in later. And I think the place is designed with that in mind, you know, is that like you got your kitchen and your reading nook and your loft, and it's like it has all the things, at least for an extended stay at minimum.
So we've got the kitchen over here then?
Yep, the kitchen, space for a little mini fridge, you have a toaster oven and a microwave. It's actually kind of impressive what they managed to fit in this little space.
And I see you've got a pull-out table here as well?
Yeah, this is just a little pull-out table made from some of the reclaimed materials at the end of the project. And
good to be resourceful?
Yeah, easy to transform the space from, you know, a entertainment living room area to more of like a dining room table if you want to cook dinner or something.
And is that a closet behind you there?
Yeah, this is a closet. It's actually kind of built into the structure. There's some beams that cantilever out the side of this treehouse, and this whole kind of nook was built around having a closet here. So some extra storage space, and just like these bins down here under the reading nook, you know, those pull out and give extra storage.
And what's out this door?
Ooh, I'm glad you asked. We have an outdoor shower, kind of cool.
Oh, no way.
Yep. What better way to get in touch with nature than literally reaching out and grabbing a tree branch while you're taking a shower?
I'll say, showering in the canopy, what more could you ask for?
It's hard to beat, man. It's really hard to beat. Kind of complemented with this corrugated siding, it creates privacy and still really allows you to feel like you're outside.
And then up here still to go, we've got the sleeping area.
Yeah, so, you know, there's a whole queen bed up here right above the entryway that you walk in, and you access it via the rustic ladder. Why don't we head up and take a look?
Let's do it. Oh, this is so nice up here. There's a lot of people who don't really like the idea of a sleeping loft because of accessibility issues, but I think if accessibility is not a problem, then it's definitely a more efficient use of the space.
I mean, this whole area is deceivingly large, you know, you come up the ladder and you almost feel like you're in a separate room. There's this aesthetic about it that like you've almost entered into like a zone, you know, that's totally different from the space below.
And with a treehouse like this, of course you have to have skylights.
Yeah, skylights. I mean, you can lay in bed and literally look right up at the canopy of the tree. There's even like enough room to stand up.
And from up here, there's a great view of the rest of the house as well.
Right. I mean, it feels spacious, you know, for such a small space.
This is a really functional home, but being a treehouse of this nature, there's also a ton of engineering that's gone into it. What kind of cost would you be looking at to build something like this?
With custom steel substructure, fully engineered, material cost, labor cost, you're probably looking at about $150,000.
So it's not super cheap, but when you think about everything that's going into it, it's not super expensive either, is it?
Right. I mean, it's essentially a fully functioning home, but 17 feet off the ground. So a big part of that is the labor and the steel substructure and the engineering and all the thought that goes into making it safe.
So when you talk about that, there is obviously this real engineering factor to building tree houses. Is there a big DIY element? Do people actually go out and build these themselves, or do you guys not recommend that?
Yeah, we've actually recently, with the whole tiny house movement, seen a whole lot of desire by people to do DIY builds, and we actually sell the hardware to people online all the time, and we have multiple videos that instruct people how to install our hardware. So I'd say that is definitely becoming more and more trending as the scene kind of expands. We really do want to give the power to the people and give them the opportunity. If they can't afford a $150,000 house, they can go and DIY it.
So what would you say your absolute favorite thing about tree houses is?
I'd say immediately what comes to mind is the escape from reality. You know, you open up the front door and you walk in and you're kind of just like totally taken aback from all your world troubles, and you're just like taken back down to ground zero, and you basically just become a kid again. And it's that stress-free feeling that is, I think, so important.
Ever since I was a kid, I have been obsessed with tree houses, and getting to walk into this space and tour this home is an absolute dream come true for me. Thank you so much for sharing it with me.
It's been a pleasure.
It proves that tree houses are not just for kids. Yeah, it's adventurous. Yeah, it's maybe a little bit crazy, but when you think about all the engineering that's gone into it, this is an incredibly safe and sturdy home, perfectly well suited to full-time living. And if it were up to me, I'd be moving in tomorrow.